Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Let me talk to you.
Boy, do we have a lot to talk about in the land of TV, movies, and comics.
Holy hell, yeah, we do.
This is one of the stacked shows that it proves the summertime is back in full swing because we're getting a lot of content hitting the small screen, hitting the big screen, hitting the comic shops each and every Wednesday, and you have tuned into the right show for that. But we definitely want to keep those conversations going after the show. So, Pat, where's everybody heading to?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swinging over to the website. Sign up for all the social media accounts. We're still on and running. Haven't been kicked off of any this week. ... But we'll keep that streak going and obviously interact with everybody there. Numbers are going up, which is always amazing to see. So let's keep that rolling. Share the pages with your friends. And let's get more people involved in the ODPH Society. What can I say about that? Also, check out the TeePublic store link. A lot of things happening there. Hats are now available. So
hell yeah.
So if you need one for the summertime, it's a perfect time to go get one. So go get some ODPH gear and definitely take it around for con season, wherever you're doing the summer. It's a perfect time to go get some right now. Also, check out the Patreon link, $1 tier, $2 a month. Shout out to all our amazing patrons. They have their own page. That's how cool they are. So if you want to join them, it's simple. Click, sign up, and you get a bonus content. They got early episodes this month. Maybe they'll get a bonus one. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how it rolls. That's what we do here at the ODPH. Also, check out the blog section where we always got stuff dropping left and right. We have the classified section, which has friends of the show, such as 3FN Podcast. Just covered the brand new Bad Boys movie, which, like I say, if you are on the fence about going to see it or not, that's why you need to go check out their latest episode, and that'll be your deciding factor. Trust me. They don't lie to you. They give it to you right down the middle, and they let you know that you're feeling. So what else can you want from a movie podcast? That's what I say. Also, check out our friends there as well at Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative, voter registration. We got a lot of stuff going on there at the classifieds. The directory. Pad, how many providers are we on?
515,546.
I do not question him, folks. That is why he is the statistician to the stars. So make sure you drop us a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm out. I'm so amped up to talk about this week's episode. I'm going to mess up the intro, but I got one more thing to get into, and that's the music section, where we have a lot of friends on tour this summer.
Yeah, we do.
Brian Wolff and the Howlers down in Texas are making some rounds. Tom Jolu is currently touring the East Coast, which is amazing to see.
Yeah.
Second Suitor's back in full swing, playing some shows locally here in the 607. Floodlands is doing some Floodland things. Shout the Robots is always doing amazing things. So if you want to go support them, and you should, click on the music section. And if it's anything else I messed up, simple, it's odphpodcast.com. And always remember on social media to use the hashtag ODPHpod. Why did I mess up, folks? We have a lot to get into.
Uh-huh.
And kicking off is arguably a polarizing show.
Very.
I am surprised at this.
I'm not.
Well, I mean, you are the Star Wars aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I am very surprised at the split reaction of this. Now, I'm not saying this is on the same level as Boba Fett.
No.
But we're getting close.
We're getting close.
So, Pat, what are we going to be discussing this week?
We're going to be talking about episode 3, titled Destiny, for season 1 of the latest show in the Star Wars universe, The Acolyte.
Yes, the Star Wars universe has returned to live action on Disney+. And 3 episodes in, and a lot of reactions going around.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to break down the latest episode, like Pat alluded to. If you're new to the show, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. What we like to do is give you a spoiler-free statement of what we're going to be discussing. So that way you'll know our opinion, and if you haven't seen the show yet for whatever reason, we're not going to ruin anything for you. However, though, we do give you a countdown. After said countdown, you have an option. You can stay and hear all the spoiler talk because we don't hold anything back, or you can duck out, catch up on the episode, hit the pause on the podcast, and then jump in after and join in the conversation there. So we just give you that fair warning, so we don't want to be blamed if you are spoiled for anything, because it's not coming from us, because we actually care about that. So that being said, Pad, give me your spoiler-free statement on Destiny.
I was surprised we got this episode and what happened in this episode this early. Mm-hmm. I know we alluded to what happened in this episode, last week, and I figured we would get it, somewhere down the road. There are, of course, 8 episodes with this season. I figured we'd get it maybe around episode 6, maybe even 7. I did not expect it at episode 3. But I was surprised, and I thought it was good. I thought it was a little bit of a twist. It was something a little different, a little bit unique. Something some stuff in here we really haven't seen before in Star Wars. Some new takes, some new ideas, some new spins, which is always good in my opinion. Also, some stuff I did not see coming. There was one moment in the show, a line got uttered, and I went, "Oh, holy bleep!" Did not see that coming. Interested to see where they go with it. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I'm just, hey, didn't expect to hear anything of this sort with this show. Let's see where this goes. But for overall, I thought it was good.
I thought it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. The timing of this episode, ooh,
surprising.
Yeah. Definitely thought it should be later because I think they've tipped their hand a little too much.
Okay.
And like for me, I don't like knowing what's going to happen so early.
The only reason I can think they did this episode at this point was if they would have left it until, and this is me thinking this after I've seen the episode and after I've digested it, that the reason they chose to do this now is because maybe they figured, okay, if we wait to do this, even episode 4, 5, 6, 7, because obviously they wouldn't do it for episode 8, the season finale.
Right.
The season finale was if we wait to do this, the longer we wait, the more people are going to think we're hiding something and we're leaving this big, M. Night Shyamalan twist in this plot. And there really isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of it's like, oh, that's interesting, but it's not anything like super like, oh my God, holy crap. They're like, this is game changer. This is going to shatter the entire mythos to its core.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I can think they did it this early is so that people didn't sit there going, where's this happen? Where's this story? We know it's got to be coming. They're hiding something. They're leaving a big twist. And there really wasn't one.
Yeah, that's the only thing with this is the timing threw me off.
Sure.
And I thought it was okay. But I have a tendency to believe the theories I've been already making public.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this really gave me a lot to ponder.
Okay.
Like I say, I liked it.
Yeah, I did too.
But I'm not like, whoa.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away by this
No.
by any means, but I sat there and there was definitely some interesting stuff. I got a couple of theories with things. We'll see if it's true. We'll see if it's not. We'll see if they're even addressed. Who knows?
Right. But for what it's been getting online, I think it's been a little too much.
Yeah, talk about living rent-free in people's heads.
Holy smokes,
Some of the
man.
people who were like swearing the show off and saying it's the biggest piece of crap ever and, it's a whatever. It's a besmirching the name of Star Wars and bitching about fire in space. Guys, it's a fictional story. There are oftentimes science doesn't matter in fiction.
Yeah.
But those same people are turning around and still watching episode 3.
It's a weird thing.
It is.
But we've seen this in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
We have seen this in comics. We
Yeah,
have seen
yeah.
this in
Yeah.
all forms of media. Sometimes people just like to watch to be mad, and
That's true.
I've never wrapped my head around that.
No, I don't either. There is certainly stuff I don't enjoy watching. I don't hate watch it. I don't sit there and force myself to sit through it. I just don't watch.
Yeah, I mean, if this is not your cup of Java,
That's fine.
Go get another beverage. In all honesty, because some people do like this.
There's a lot of TV on right now, and that's stuff coming out, stuff that's on streaming that is getting out. Like hell, they're doing another season of White Collar, White Collar on Netflix. Like, get excited for that. Go watch the first 8 seasons of that on Netflix. Like, you don't have to sit here and watch it if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think
if you're on the fence, you can sit here and wait until when's this finale? July 16th. You can sit here, you can sit and wait another month and then just binge the whole show at the end and decide from there if it was good or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. But we live in a very short patience society.
That's true.
And it's an unfortunate thing because people don't like letting stuff work itself out. They don't like waiting. They don't like doing slow burns.
Yeah.
And in this situation, like we addressed last week, this is a brand new time frame in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not into it, listen, you've got enough stuff involving the name Skywalker and Vader.
Yeah, really.
It'll fill your time. Trust us. There's
a lot of films and a lot of TV shows.
There's a lot of great comics and books that'll take up your time. So if this
Go watch Clone Wars if you haven't seen that.
Well, that's the whole point. It's just there's a lot more options out there.
Clone Wars, Rebels, Ahsoka, Bad Batch. It's a long list.
Mm-hmm. So for what we got here, I will say okay.
Yeah.
Still in, but I have a lot of questions.
Sure.
So that being said, If you're watching it, keep watching. If you're not, tune out. It's time to talk some spoilers in 3, 2, 1. So, what you think?
I thought it was fine. You know, it wasn't the greatest thing ever. It was fine. I was surprised we got the backstory at this point.
Way too soon.
You know, but like I said, I think they did it now because if they would have waited until later in the season, people would have been sitting there going, there's got to be some big twist. There's got to be some big like name dropper or appearance that's happening. And they're just waiting to do it for that big moment in the season. And there really isn't one. It's just, hey, we introduced these 2 new characters. We talked a lot about their past and a lot about something happening. Let's show you what happened. And it was fine. You know, it was an episode. I got to the end of it. I was definitely intrigued, and there were certain portions of it that I'm like, ooh, this is interesting. I like what they're doing with this. This could potentially be something, you know, and there's other stuff I'm like, it is what it is.
Soul's still the worst. I'm convinced he's a Sith.
Did they, I don't think, and that's the thing, we got to talk about this because it's a flashback, and there's a bunch of characters that were in the first 2 episodes that are in this as their younger selves. I don't think they de-aged them with CGI. I think they just did like prosthetics and makeup,
yeah,
which is astounding.
It is astounding, but it was where they wanted to really kind of, I don't think they wanted to lose the audience because I think maybe just because they're brand new characters,
sure,
doing that. And if you're going to do this time jump this early in the season,
sure,
I think you might have thrown some people off.
Could be.
But we did get a little background about the twins that are the center of attention of the Acolyte. We have one that is now on a mission to kill some Jedis.
That'd be May.
Yep, who's played by Amandla Stenberg. And her twin sister, Osha, who is now trying to figure out what is going on here because both sisters thought the other one was dead. Apparently, it's very clear. Apparently, somebody was wrong about the information.
Yeah.
And we're now seeing more Jedis are becoming involved, especially, like I said, the worst one right now, played by Lee Jong-jae, and that is Soul. Because Soul is in that Liam Neeson Qui-Gon role.
Qui-Gon, yeah.
Qui-Gon, apologize.
He goes along with it, but he has his own rules.
Yes. So, like I say, it reminds me a lot of Qui-Gon.
Also, you call him the worst Jedi. I really need to educate you on Quinlan Vos. For those of you who know, you know.
Exactly. See, like I say, Pad, aficionado. Me, I'm learning.
I need to give you some reading material for Quinlan Vos.
Yeah, let's say the High Republic is where I gotta start picking up on. But as we see, the whole mystery left off where we had the hit list going down with May.
Yep.
Already taken out 2 Jedis of the 4.
Yep.
And that's where we left off last episode. So now to go into the flashback sequence,
right at the outset.
Yeah,
not even like an intro, and she's in May's sitting there meditating or something.
Right,
like, straight in like new planet, name of the planet, 16 years earlier.
So we jump on to Brendok, and this is inhabited by witches.
Yeah.
So now, granted, you are the aficionado.
Yes.
I've said this once. I'll say this again.
Yes.
Have witches always been around in Star Wars?
This particular group is new, but in terms of witches, no. Witches have been around for, I'd have to look up when they specifically came around, but the most recent and most well-known one I can think of is the Dathomir witches. Like Mother Talzin and the group that were on Dathomir. I'd have to look up when they made their first appearance, but witches have been a thing for a little bit with Star Wars.
Okay, because like I say, this was my first experience with witches being involved because I've always said, oh, it's Jedi, Sith, the Force, blah, blah, blah. So now we see that on Brendok, there is a whole congregation of witches, and Osha and May are living with them.
Right.
We find out that one witch created them, and that's Mother Anicia. So we do see that she has a lot more going on with her character. Yeah,
and that's kind of the thing that's kind of shocking some people that we find out with the twins is that, it gets asked later in the episode, who's the father? And it's told that there is no father.
Right.
So we've got another instance like Anakin. Virgins in the Force, whatever you want to call it, or the thread, as they like to call it.
Yeah, it's a plot hole that's been in Star Wars. But like I say, I think this is a very interesting setup that they're doing.
I do too.
Jodie Turner-Smith is playing Mother Anicia. And we do see that she obviously has a lot more motives going on, because there's a lot going on, especially that she conjured the twins with Mother Coriel, who's played by Margarita Levilla. So we do see that they have a lot of history going on here, and they do tie into the thread that you're talking about.
Which is they're what they call the Force.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they're dealing with this, they're also talking about, like, it's been misused by the Jedi?
Yeah, this isn't the first time we've seen this. If you've read any of the High Republic stuff, especially the stories that took place on Jeddah, or some of the more recent High Republic comics, this has been a thing with other Force users in the galaxy that, like, the Jedi abuse it and they really shouldn't be using it at all.
Yeah.
Some have differing opinions. Some say they shouldn't be using it at all. Some are like, yeah, we don't agree with what you're doing, but hey, do you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard about this before, but I'm still kind of a little puzzled by it. Like I say, I'm more of the Skywalker time period than anything. Yeah. But we do get a little more story about, like, what's going on, and especially what's so special about these twins, and how they're now going to be considered part of the congregation. And with a big ceremony going on.
Well, they call it the Ascension, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it almost felt cult-like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just me watching, and I'm just going like...
Also felt a little bit like the Jedi. You bring them in, you teach them, they're the younglings, and then, they get chosen by a knight, and they become Padawans, and so they ascend to being Padawans.
Yeah.
It's same coin, different side.
Yeah. And speaking of Jedis, well, we do see that when the twins are fighting about being involved with this, May is all in, Osha is not.
Yeah, they're going outside of their, I guess, village walls to visit this forest, and they get found out, and it's like, well, no, I want to go there. No, you shouldn't. You're too young, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like somebody else comes up and goes, oh, hey, by the way, the Jedi are here. Yeah. And they're like, crap.
Yeah, so we do get the 4 that have been alluded to from the previous 2 episodes. Carrie Ann Moss has returned.
Hell yeah.
So I know everybody was kind of worried about, how brief her appearance was.
Or surprised in my case.
So she is back as Indara.
Yep.
So everybody was pretty happy to see her back. And we do see Torben. And then the Wookiee Jedi.
Yep.
That we got introduced at the very end of last episode.
Kelnaka.
And of course, the worst one ever, Soul. So we do see that they have now crashed the party because they feel that there's a problem with what the witches are up to. And this is now, it's kind of funny because, like you alluded to, the Jedi do a lot of the same things here.
Yeah.
So who's to say who's right and who's to say who's wrong?
Yeah.
Proving once again the Jedi is responsible for everything wrong in the Star Wars universe. I digress, but we do get a interesting proposition brought up that they want to see about, are the twins better suited to be Jedis? Yeah,
they claim the right to, like, hey, we should be able to test the twins and see if they're able to become Jedi. And the coven, is like, no, they're our kids. They belong with us. And you have Osha, who is like, I want to be a Jedi. And May, who's like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. And they come to this agreement where it's like, okay, let's test them, and then we'll go from there. And before they test them, you have May and Osha who come to this agreement, although how much Osha agrees with this, I couldn't really say. But they go, hey, we'll purposely flunk the test so that we can stay together.
Yeah. It is an interesting setup, but we see that, they want to purposely fail.
And it's also an interesting take because if you think back to the prequel trilogy, when Anakin goes to get tested by the Jedi, same test we see in this in the film, in this show, the little paddle and little screen, like, oh, tell us what you see is on the screen, and it's supposed to say it. Same test Anakin went through. Anakin got it 100% right, and they were like, nah, he's too old. But clearly Osha and May are probably around the same age Anakin was in Phantom Menace, and they're all for it.
Yeah. Which we definitely do have to give some credit to Lauren and Leah Brady.
Yeah.
Who were playing the young versions of May and Osha in this. So definitely they were acting.
They're great.
They did fantastic in this. Because you did see, like, obviously a lot of the rage built up. And like I say, this was stemming from the beginning of the episode where they did have like this nice moment where they're in the forest and they're testing their powers.
Yeah.
To see now that May is saying, no, we need to fail and stay with our mother. And you're seeing that obviously OSHA has other plans. And then this is where things become, well, obviously a little messy. Because OSHA is so convinced about being a Jedi and leave. May is saying, you're not leaving.
Yeah, because, well, and the thing of it is the Jedi pick up on what the sisters' plan is. Because OSHA's in the middle of the test and like, all right, tell us what you see on the screen. And she says something, I don't remember what it is. And the camera goes behind Sol, and he's the one reading off the electronic paddle and the electronic screen, and he goes, and she says like a cup. I'll just say it's a cup, and they show the thing, and it's like a mountain, and he goes, that's right, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Is he? I'm like, is he deliberately throwing the test just to get her in there?
Yep.
And then she the next one pops up on screen, and she gets that one wrong, and he goes, aha, you are correct, and I'm like, what is going on here? And that's when they pick up on it, that they're like, and I think they knew the entire time, and they're like, your sister told you to throw the test, didn't she? And she's like, and she doesn't admit to it, but she kind of gets this guilty look on her face.
Yeah.
And goes, yeah, she does. But then, so she presumably, well, they never say, ends up passing the test and is ready to leave with the Jedi. And that's like you alluded to. May goes, you can't leave. I won't let you, and immediately jumps to like the worst possible end stage. Yeah. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was something I thought was really rushed.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
Unless the only thing I was breaking down is maybe Anicia put a spell on her.
Maybe.
And was using that magic to do something.
We do see the witches are very powerful, because when the Jedi first confront the Coven after they show up on the planet, I think it was Tortle or Torben, excuse me, was put into this like weird trance, and his eyes rolled back in the back of his head like he was Undertaker. Yeah, and he could not move.
So, like I say, I think there's a lot more going on with that Covenant.
Could be.
That anybody's willing to talk about.
Could be.
But we do see, obviously, May traps OSHA in a room, starts the fire.
Yeah.
OSHA has to escape.
Yeah, she's real good at hot wiring.
Yeah.
She's like 10 years old, already hot wire a door.
Yeah, which, I mean, I suspended disbelief. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Hey, when you're a kid and you got to be resourceful, you're resourceful.
Let it go. So we do see that she does escape, and there's a standoff on the bridge. The fire is all around. So May, as of right now, is considered the cause of the fire that killed everybody. I still think that's not the case. I really don't.
I mean, she lit the fuse.
She lit the fuse. She lit the fuse, but to have that much fire going around that quickly to take out all the witches that have powers, I still think Sol's behind this.
Could be.
Because he, ironically, was there when the sisters were on the bridge and started falling.
True.
And all of a sudden, May goes, but he saves OSHA.
Yep.
So May is presumed dead. They're walking by dead bodies.
Yeah, they are.
Now, note, I don't think, obviously, with the ramifications of a fire, they were affected by the fire. That's why I say I think the Jedi straight up killed him.
Could be.
You know, they're going to say, why, Pad? Reasons. But that's what I think happened. I think Sol led the charge. And Sol now winds up taking OSHA with him to Coruscant, and now is like, okay, you can be my Padawan.
Well, so OSHA passed out at one point.
Yeah.
In the midst of all this, she wakes up on the Jedi ship while they're going back to Coruscant, and she's freaking out, looking for her mother. And Sol comes to her, and he's looks so upset, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's nobody left. You're the only survivor." And she goes, "Well, what about my sister?" And he goes, "No, I'm sorry, she didn't make it." And she starts crying, and he goes, he makes a promise to her that he goes, I'll make sure you never feel this way again, and I'll even train you as my Padawan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we see on Brendock, May is there.
May's not dead.
Yep, and now she's looking for her sister with guilt. And that's how it ends.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they did a solid job about trying to explain the sisters and maybe some history there.
Yeah.
But I think it was almost telegraphed.
A little bit.
I think the fact that Sol led the party there, they looked very uncomfortable being there.
Yeah.
And for being Jedis, there usually is a small sense of confidence.
Yeah.
they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, a lot of that going on.
But Indara's face kind of tipped things off like this is maybe not on the up and up.
Maybe.
So I'm sitting there going like, yes, Soul came in there with a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and the purpose was to get the twins.
Could be.
And he knew he couldn't get the one, so he's taking he couldn't get both, so he's taking one. For whatever reason, I don't know. Like I say, it's gonna be some Jedi divine intervention probably because you know. But I think for where they needed to go, this was an okay episode.
Yeah.
Like I say, I would have liked to seen this maybe at episode 5 and tease more of like
Sure.
what happened in
Sure.
the fire. But I think what they wanted to do is establish now when they come back, we do see that there's another Jedi that is arguably going to be caught up with in time period. And I think they want to establish, like, what did he know about things?
Yeah.
So it did its purpose. I thought the acting was fine, but it just really kind of was, like, very quick to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah, I mean, they dropped a couple tidbits in there. I thought the whole, vergence in the Force, created through the Force thread, whatever you want to call it, like we saw with Anakin was interesting, that there is no father, because the Anakin instance was the only instance thus far in Star Wars, canon or old canon, non-canon that we've seen. So I thought that was interesting. I'm curious with the whole witches thing. The only other instance we've seen is the Dathomir witches. I wonder the Night Sisters. I wonder if these witches on Brendock are somehow related or a branch off of the Night Sisters. Maybe they'll explore it. Maybe they won't. Who knows? But very interesting. And also they were kind of alluding to the whole dyad. If you remember the sequel trilogy with Rey and Kylo, they were kind of almost touching that like, oh, there's a special connection between the two of them. And it could just be the twin thing. They alluded to that with Luke and Leia in some of the comics and novels, set during the original trilogy, but it almost felt like they were touching on the whole dyad thing, which, take it or leave it, could be interesting, but we'll see.
Well, I think much like this show, we got to let it go.
Yeah.
And we got to let it
play out.
Yeah, let it play. I mean, that's the one thing about this, that they're introducing a lot of lore. Like I say, the witches part, I know we had some with Thrawn. For a little bit in Ahsoka.
Yep.
Like for me, I register that as the Force. Like that's where I've seen.
That's what it all is, just a different name.
Right, but for where we were going here, like this is the first time we've seen witchcraft involved. Like real.
In live action, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so like I say, this was a new experience, and it's one that I can understand why some fans are not going to like it because this is new.
It's a lot of new. And historically, Star Wars fans do not like new things.
No, they do not. That is one thing I can...
That is well established.
Verify completely. So it's something, seeing this show grow, we're just going to have to be patient with. And that's something that obviously we can do as... Let me put it this way. Mature fans can do.
Yeah.
Very impatient fans, I think is probably the nicest way I can put it, are not going to handle this well. But I thought for what they did this episode, it was okay.
Yeah.
Not the greatest thing I've seen.
No.
I thought they sped up a lot.
Yeah, they did.
To get to some points, which is almost like you didn't let the story go. And I think that hurt this episode a lot.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see about that. Final thoughts on it?
Thought it was a good episode. It was interesting to get the backstory and kind of fill in some stuff. It also made more plot holes, or not, I don't want to say plot holes, but like missing pieces. It gave us some more missing pieces to the puzzle. But that's half the fun of watching this, week to week and seeing how things play out and all that. It's very interesting to see where they're going to go.
Fully agree about that. So hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. What is your thoughts about Star Wars, The Acolyte, Episode 3, entitled Destiny? Let's have that discussion, shall we? But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Do you like comic books?
What about movies and TV shows?
Well, we may be the show for you.
We're Hops Geek News, a weekly podcast that discusses comics, movies, and TV shows while featuring a beer of the week.
Every week, we chat about what we messed up on the week before, and then we dive into what we're reading and watching, as well as some news.
We then wrap it up with a geek-themed topic of the week.
You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts by searching Hops Geek News.
Cheers.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. We said we had a lot to talk about, and we do, because what is returning this week to Amazon Prime?
That would be season 4 of the hit TV series, The Boys.
Yes. The adult-oriented superhero story.
Yeah, kids should not be watching the show. Hell, teenagers, I don't think, should be watching the show.
That came from Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. way back in 2006 from Wildstorm Comics, and then it went to Dynamite because of reasons, Pat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. It is the definition of reasons.
There's probably a video on YouTube explaining it a lot easier than we could.
Mm-hmm. That really, to see how it translated to the pop culture audience has been astonishing in my eyes. Because this is not your typical superhero story by any stretch of the imagination. Garth Ennis's imagination ran wild with this. And basically shows what happens when superheroes get too much power.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas Spawn is giving us some great performances from Carl Urban, Jack Quaid, and Anthony Starr. The fact that he has not gotten an Emmy for being Homelander is a travesty.
I mean, listen, the Emmys are a sham anyway. What is it? Better Call Saul went how many seasons and didn't get shit?
Yeah, no, I'm astonished that he has not gotten it.
Emmys are a sham.
Yes.
Quote me on it.
I'd say that is our opinions, folks, but I think we got a pretty good case. And like I say, an all-star cast right behind them.
Joining them this season, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, of all people.
Yo, yeah.
Holy hell.
Well, you have to think with Eric Kripke, who has been the showrunner and the brain behind this adaptation, we were going to see some supernatural tie-ins, if you will, and obviously JDM is somebody I was banking on seeing at some point.
Versatile, that Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh, yes. Extremely.
Yeah.
So where we're going, Pat, why don't we catch everybody up to speed about where we've been to where we are now?
So, of course, first 3 seasons of The Boys, kind of a buildup of, I would say, of sorts, starts off rather abruptly, I guess you could say, with our title or main character, if you want to call him that, that being Huey Campbell, played by Jack Quaid. Jack Quaid, hanging out with a girlfriend on an average day, just going about the things and telling each other how much they love each other. When she's abruptly killed by A-Train, who is running to save the day, and unlike the Flash, who doesn't run into people, he runs full blown through her, and Huey is left holding his now dead girlfriend's arms and nothing else. And you have A-Train who goes, "Whoops, sorry," and leaves.
Right then and there is the pace of the series,
and that's in the first 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's much like the comic. The comic, I think, goes a little further than the show does.
Probably.
I'm just putting that out there.
Probably.
But this is where we get the version of the Justice League, which is known as the Seven, and they are very corporate in their actions. They're very much based on popularity with Vought, the organization that is sponsoring them.
Yep.
And we have some people that want to take them down. More importantly, Billy Butcher, played by the one and only Carl Urban, who literally is going above and beyond the way to go kill Homelander, played by Anthony Starr, and the Seven. And his hatred for superheroes or superpowered beings is very, very well documented.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And him, along with his team, have made it a point to be a thorn in the Seven's side, making some progress, but unfortunately it has not come without some problems. And we do know that from last season, there is a big cloud hanging over Butcher because he crossed the line to take out the Supes, but it's also one that has now played a factor in his mortality.
He took a drug called, I think it was called Temp V, which gave him, as the name suggests, temporary powers.
Yes.
And allowed him to go one-on-one with Supes, including Homelander.
And unfortunately, it has not exactly been one without consequence because time is now ticking, which is going to be very interesting to see how the boys move forward. Because it was announced this week that Season 5 will be the last season.
Like a week or two after they announced they would be doing Season 5. They announced they were doing Season 5. Season 4 isn't even out yet when they announced this. And then this week, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, Season 5 is going to be the final one.
Yes.
Which I'm not mad at. Hey, when you're on top, when a good end point is, and you do it.
But this is where you're really following the story, and that's where I like that they're doing, too. I mean, the boys went 70 issues.
Right.
So there's not a lot to go 10 years.
Could you? Probably.
Oh, I'm sure you
Should
could.
you? Yeah.
Well, I think you want to get right to the ending and right to where everything has been building towards.
Right.
And that is the one situation that there is an ultimate showdown coming between Homelander and Butcher.
Uh-huh.
And how Huey factors into it, like I say, I know what happens in the comics. I'm going to avoid saying that because we have taken some liberties with this show.
Sure, and there's a couple characters getting introduced, I know, this season, that season 4, that aren't in the comics at all.
Right. So we have to keep that in mind when we're thinking about how this is all going to end.
Right.
But knowing that there's a timetable going on,
right,
that is going to play a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing how the other characters are involved. We have Starlight, obviously played by Erin Moriarty, and Huey, and seeing how like their story is going to play, because obviously they're the Romeo and Juliet of the Soups universe. And with Mother's Milk involved, played by Laz Alonso, and Frenchie, who has been absolutely lights out in his performance to Tomar Capone, along with Kimiko, who's played by Karen Fukuhara. Like that team, to see how they're going to be surviving going forward,
right,
is going to be very, very much watched TV. Because Homelander is now ascended to a level that he's bigger than Vought.
Yeah, he is.
And that's scary for everybody because it's basically a corrupt Superman with no responsibility other than whatever he wants to do. As he said, I can do whatever the F I want. And he is going to do it because when he was taken down because of his popularity, well, we saw that he has now bounced back with a son in tow that is a Soups in training. Things are going to get very, very crazy.
Is it really training when you throw the kid off a roof of a house and tell him fly? Well, sorry, he doesn't even tell him to fly. He just goes, here, shoves him off the roof, and he crashes face first into the ground.
I mean, tomato.
Yoda does not approve.
But for the boys' universe, like we say, it makes perfect sense.
It does.
And that's the one thing about this universe, too. It really takes extremes.
It does.
In everything. I mean, there's a lot of sex, a lot of violence, a lot of gore.
A lot of sex, yeah.
Yes. And it's something that really stands out because what you have is a group that proves that Alan Moore's theory, I guess, if I can coin that, that there is no good, there is no evil, there is just gray.
There's a lot of gray.
There's a lot of gray here.
It's a lot of gray.
Because the heroes that are supposed to be saving the world, so to speak, are very, very corrupt. And we see this more and more with the majority of Soups that we've seen. And now to go and say, okay, where do we go for the season? We have seen a little bit of a trailer.
Yeah, we do know Homelander is going to be on trial for what happened in season 3.
Yes. And we do see that Butcher has announced to his team that he only has a couple of months left.
Doesn't say how many, but I wouldn't expect it's very long.
No. So things are going to be moving quite fast.
We also do see that there is a election going on with this because one of the scenes in the trailer is of political candidates. I don't know. I don't remember if it's the current president or somebody running for president.
Oh, somebody running.
Okay. Well, I couldn't remember if it was an incumbent or some new challenger. But yeah, somebody and their vice president candidate standing on stage at like a rally or something. So you do have that going on as well.
Yeah, there is a lot of moving parts because especially where the series, I think, draws its strength from is it really factors into the relationship between humans and superheroes.
Right.
And how very divided it is.
Right. And it takes kind of like there is the Marvel DC side of things where they're heroes and everyone beloves them. But there's also that other side that Marvel and DC don't always like to look at. I know they've done it a couple of times. But, especially where there's the one point in the trailer where Homelander says, let's not be heroes anymore. You're going to be wrathful gods. Now show me some wrath.
Yeah, because he is now really pushing to extract his revenge on Butcher.
Yep.
And like we say, for where everybody's gone from point A, where they were just kind of thrown together, not really knowing what they're doing, to now they're more or less a formulated team that has the mission at hand, but they know time is against them.
Also, so just occurring to me now, since we do know the show is ending soon, we need to get at least one Cody Rhodes cameo in the show before the end of the series. Just saying.
It probably will happen in season 5.
The Rhodelander.
Oh, it needs to. I mean, if you've seen him, you know he is him.
Look at a photo of Cody Rhodes in his wrestling gear when he's coming out to the ring. Look at a photo of Homelander. Tell us we're wrong. And give Ken the credit for that name.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, this is going to be interesting for where the trailer is. Like I say, the trailer that we've seen for the first couple episodes is just Butcher and Homelander meeting, and it's more expanding about Homelander and his new public persona.
Also, things are very divided.
Yes.
Between the general public.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's one thing, too, that you're going to see maybe a little more political side of things here.
Yeah.
Which we have to, I just want to stress, too. This is taped well in advance of being an election year and time than any of that nonsense. But we are going to see more of a political side here, especially with Newman running for president.
Yep.
That's the soup that was making people's heads explode.
Gotcha.
So seeing how that's all going to factor in is going to be, the conflict there. And I think especially doing, almost saying like the division of church and state, so to speak.
Yep.
The division of heroes and government and, the public opinion and how that's all going to factor in. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I think is going to really head into a darker territory.
Well, and you got to figure, like, we know when the show is ending next season. And you got to figure they're going to, like, if the dial only goes to 10, they're going to dial it to 15. And it's going to get absolutely insane. Kind of like how House of Cards did for those couple of seasons, where just when you were watching and you thought it couldn't get any crazier, like the plot couldn't get any more like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like, I can't believe this can't get any crazier. And then it did. I feel like this is going to go the same route where like we keep seeing this stuff, in prior seasons where like, oh my God, this is nuts. This can't get any crazier. And then it does. I feel like they're going to just dial it to a fever pitch for the final season.
I think they have to. I mean, the one thing is, without giving too much away from the comics, there's a couple very uncomfortable characters we have not seen yet.
Sure.
I believe we are going to see one of them this season. And like I say, it's going to be a little uncomfortable for the audience. But then again, I think the audience has adapted to this.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about when Soldier Boy debuted.
Right.
And when we see, obviously, Jensen Ackles playing Soldier Boy, and how the version of Captain America is completely flipped on a 180, to say the least. This really plays into a monster factor of, the blurring of the lines of what you know from superheroes. And this is going to be something that you're going to see more of going into the season. Because like I say, with 4, excuse me, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
With the heroes and especially with what you have set up.
And the other interesting thing is going to be the Gen V tie-in.
Yes.
Because we do know some of that stuff from Gen V is going to be coming over to this season. What? We don't know. But it'll be interesting to see.
Right. So like I say, it's going to be something with the spinoffs that are involved that the show could keep living and moving forward, which, I mean, listen, I would not be mad about it per se, but I don't want to see it going like a Walking Dead.
No, I don't either.
The one thing about The Boys in the comics is it did have a big ending. It was what it was expected to be.
Yeah.
It ended in a very, very unique way. I could see possibly that happening with this series.
I'm not opposed to a spinoff series.
But it depends on how far they want to go.
Right.
But the key here has been the acting.
Yes.
Because hypothetically saying you take out Homelander, you take out Butcher. You could try doing a Huey spinoff, but is it going to be the same? Because the one thing is, Butcher and Homelander are the same side of the coin. The opposite side. Like I say, they're too much alike in being headstrong and being, just not listening to anybody else and just focusing on what they do. That if you take them out, you really need somebody charismatic to step up and fill in that role. Like Gen V works for what it needs to be.
Yeah, it does.
But I think it's only going to go a couple seasons.
No, I agree with you 100%.
But I don't think it's going to go any further than that unless you have another character that emerges. Like, you'd almost have to have, as weird as it sounds, like you almost have to have a Daryl Dixon pop out of here.
Sure.
To really connect that with the audience.
Well, and I also wouldn't be surprised if let's just say the hypothetical that they do end up doing a spinoff series. And let's just say for hypothetical purposes that like Homelander dies at the end. It wouldn't surprise me if they went the spinoff route, Homelander dies and something like crawls out from underneath the dead corpse that is Homelander. That it's like, something that like he was working on and spawned out of that. I'd be like, okay, yeah, no, given what we know about Homelander, does not surprise me in the least. And that way it can branch off from it. It can build off of that and it can go from there.
Yeah. Where, listen, if they decided to head that route, I'd be okay with it as long as it
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Yeah.
I just have a feeling.
Don't force it for the sake of like, hey, this show is doing really good. We want to keep the gravy train rolling.
Yeah. No, I don't think we're going to have that. I think Kripke, if what Supernatural has taught me anything,
Sure.
when he gets around like that 5-season range, like the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, like it should have ended at 5.
Okay.
It went way longer, and I'm not mad about it because it still held up quality, except for the Leviathan season. That's a whole different ball of wax. But it still held up. But usually around that like 5th season part, like would end.
Sure.
But with the show making money and doing good things, like I can understand the fans wanting to be here. But I also think though it needs to end for where it's going.
It's that perfect ending. It's kind of like Breaking Bad. Could Breaking Bad have gone more seasons than it did? Sure. There's a couple of plot lines and a couple of things they could have done with Breaking Bad to extend it further, but they didn't. They chose to end it where they did, and it is one of the most perfect endings in television history.
Yeah, and it definitely, like I say, it works out so well. Yeah. And I think we're going to have that here. I think this season, as we're going into it, to just kind of preview, we're going to have a lot of Butcher and Homelander, which is good because that's where this whole story has really been centered around. Mm-hmm. Everybody else has played a part.
Yeah.
But I think even with the introduction of new soups, it's still going to center around Homelander's public persona and his new reputation with the public. Because at the end of last season, he killed somebody that was trying to attack him in cold blood.
In broad daylight on television.
And everybody cheered.
Yeah.
And that moment, you saw the switch flip. Mm-hmm. And that gave him enough motivation that he can go do whatever he wants, and he's not going to answer to anything. Mm-hmm. And this is also the ramifications for Billy Butcher that obviously he knows his window is closing.
Yep.
It's going to be one shot to take out Homelander once and for all. Like, that's his motivation, or he dies trying. And then, however, Victoria Newman, that's why I couldn't remember her name, I apologize for that, is going to be working in the background that... This is going to be a situation of government versus corporation, too. So there's a lot of underlying factors going on, but it's still going to have this great cast behind it with the writing and the one-liners that we all have known to love. But I think this is going to be one that, knowing the end is coming, it's going to make some people uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And I think that...
Deliberately so.
Oh, yeah. But I think if you've been a long-time fan of this, you shouldn't be phased. You should go in this with an open mind and be ready for the wildest things you can imagine.
And it's not exactly like Kripke's subtle about this. He's very overt in interviews and in articles of like, yes, I am deliberately trying to make you uncomfortable.
Well, you have to think about it. This is also the same guy that gave us Herogasm.
Yeah.
And that was a thing I never thought I would ever see live action of.
Yeah.
And yet I did.
Uh-huh.
But like I say, they've taken some deep dives with characters. Stormfront.
Yeah.
And obviously, they've taken some liberties with Black Noir. And obviously, knowing the background of that character in the comics, I'm wondering how that's going to play out now. But we are going to get a lot of interesting storylines heading into here. And I think it's just setting up for however long season 5 is going to be.
Yeah, because I think this season, from what I was looking at, it's only going to be like 8, maybe 9 episodes.
Yeah, but that's how they usually average.
Yeah.
They haven't gone too long.
Yeah.
I think we might have a shorter season 5 because I think that once we get to the end of this one, we know where everything's heading.
I just get the feeling that the finale of this season is going to be such a mic drop moment. People are going to be talking about it for years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're going to be talking about it until we get season 5.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I'm super excited about it. This has been showing how independent comics can really translate to the pop culture audience if they're done right and the essence is kept. Because let's face it, this is not a series that is, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow by any stretch of the imagination.
It's truth, justice, and a better tomorrow in someone's opinion.
But it has worked on establishing a pop culture audience still wants to see indie comics.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I go with this segment too. Like, we've teased around a little bit about this, and we haven't gone deep dive into like a full recap because you should really go to the comic shops and pick up the books.
It's also a different flavor of ice cream. I know some people like to moan and groan that, Marvel and the comic book movies have taken over too much and it's dominating Hollywood and this. And like, okay, this is, in that same vein. It's in, if Baskin Robbins or Breyer's ice cream or Perry's ice cream, like pick your favorite ice cream brand. And you might not like every flavor, but this one, a little bit different, something a little bit, off the beaten path.
It's an acquired taste, but we will be recapping next week.
Oh, yeah, we will.
So definitely in the meantime, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. What is your thoughts going into season 4, the penultimate season of The Boys on Amazon Prime? Let's discuss, shall we? But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. We told you it was a loaded episode, folks. Pad, what is returning this Sunday to HBO Max?
And, HBO and Max. It is season 2 of House of the Dragon, of course, the prequel to the Game of Thrones series.
Yes, the surprise hit series, I have to admit, really took pop culture by storm. It's been far too long since we've seen the greatness known as Matt Smith playing Prince Daemon Targaryen and company decide who was going to sit on the Iron Throne and rule over the kingdoms. The series definitely came out and won fans over because obviously Game of Thrones was the biggest show on TV at one point. Can't deny that one bit.
For the record, season 1 ended on Sunday, October 23rd, 2022. So we're a year and a half. We'll just use round numbers since the season 1 finale.
Yes.
Holy cow.
It's, like I say, it's been a while between this and The Last of Us. Everybody forgets about those two shows.
Yeah.
Because they've been taking extended breaks to get filming right and all that jazz. But this season, like I say, coming off the heels of Game of Thrones, which ended very, very disappointing in a lot of fans' eyes. We have to be honest about it.
Low expectations.
And talking about doing a spinoff, I know the fans were not exactly too amped up for, but this show surprised. And now we have season 2 debuting this Sunday, June 16th, as we are recording. Pad, why don't you catch us up to speed? What is the big things we need to know about?
So, of course, the big thing to know is that there is kind of a tug of war, I guess you could say, as to who is actually in charge of the land. On one side, you've got Aegon Targaryen, Aegon II, who is sitting on the Iron Throne in King's Landing, thanks to a little bit of help, a little bit of intervention. And then on the other side is Princess Rhaenys, who is sitting on the other side, because their father, the king, who was King Viserys, could not, in his last moments alive and the time leading up to when he was about to die, could not, for whatever reason, name an heir. And if memory serves, because I haven't seen the episode since it aired, but if memory serves, when it came time to die, he was about to say who was the heir.
Correct.
And he died before he could say who it was.
Perfect Hollywood acting right there.
Of course. So that led to the struggle. That led to the tug of war. Who's actually king? Who's actually in charge? And then we got a fucking dragon bursting in through the front door.
It's Game of Thrones, folks. Dragons are very, very normal.
Yeah, they are.
But now it's still setting up for a showdown that they have been alluding to for quite some time with two dominant forces in this landscape.
Hell yeah.
Which we have Olivia Cook playing Queen Alicent Hightower and Emma Darcy playing Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. And the struggle between the houses and the backstabbing, the lies, the double-crossing, this has been everything that Game of Thrones fans has been looking for.
Game of Thrones is known for anything. It's wicked crazy battle sequences.
But it also is literally a guessing game of who will be the last one standing.
Yeah, really.
And that's what you've had here. I mean, there's a lot to digest with this season. We've seen the trailer for it. I mean, Pat, jump in. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's going to be nuts. I think there's going to be a little bit of what we've seen from Game of Thrones. The subterfuge, the backroom dealing. I guess you could say. Some people are going to switch sides. We're not going to know who's going where. And of course, from what we've seen in the trailer, insane battles.
Oh yeah,
which is what I'm here for.
Matt Smith riding a dragon.
I love the politics stuff, and I love the let's all figure out and let's fight over who's going to be king. That's all well and interesting. Love me a good battle.
Well, the one thing that this show has really captured from George R. R. Martin there has been the slow setup of the politics of this world. That everybody's forming alliances, everybody's doing double crosses.
It's not as simple as some other fantasy series would lead you to believe, where it's like, oh, hey, that king dies, so logically the firstborn son or the firstborn daughter is next in line. Like, no, it's not always that easy.
No, you've seen sacrifices upon sacrifices to get to the top of the throne. And you're really seeing a lot of this in the trailer. Like I say, they focus a lot on Queen Rhaenyra and the defense of the kingdom that is established. Queen Alicent is stepping in and trying to challenge the throne as well. Lurking in the background, obviously, is Matt Smith's Prince Daemon, who I've said multiple times.
Best character on this show.
Yeah, literally is the character that steals the scenes here. And then, obviously, with Prince Aegon involved, or King Aegon, I should say.
King Aegon.
Seeing how he's going to factor into things.
Dude's giving me, I'm not going to lie, from the trailer we've seen, dude gives me Joffrey vibes.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Holy cow.
Well, it's when you have a kid that's a king.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem. But in Game of Thrones time frame, there's a lot of illogical things.
Yeah, also, as we know in Game of Thrones, the universe, life expectancy is not very long.
No.
Especially if you're royalty.
Right. And there's just a lot of uniqueness going on with the relationships, and we'll just put it that way.
Yeah, Joffrey's brother, who was king for all of, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. So to see how they're all going to be stepping in, it does appear we're going to get the same old formula that's been winning everybody over. We do get a little shot, though, in the trailer, and I know you called this out, we're going back to the wall.
It looks like we're going to the wall. Yeah, it's a giant white wall, and they're wearing fur coats like we saw Jon Snow wear. So I'm guessing we're going back to the wall.
Yeah, which would be something for the show.
Yeah.
And it is talking about the Targaryens are planning on going to King's Landing. That's been a theme that they've had in this entire trailer leading in.
King's, I'm going to say right now, Iron Throne in this show better than it was in the original.
Oh, absolutely. No,
just my opinion.
Well, it's something they do when they step up about the special effects when it comes around. And that's something that when you see a show really does well, doing the prequels, you can kind of step things up.
Yeah,
and
you can.
we do see a lot of that here. And especially now with the power struggle that's going to be taking place, that going by all the promo art and going by everything that it says, all must choose, and you have the standoff between the houses.
Right, and we know the houses are powerful because you think back to Game of Thrones and just how the Targaryens were spoken of with this like envious and almost mythical like being, like how strong they were and how powerful they were. That like we're getting to see that.
And it's something that's definitely winning everybody over, too. Like I say, there is not that much they're reinventing the wheel here.
No, there's not.
No, you're just seeing a lot of strong performances, a lot of dealings and preparing for what's coming. Because what it seems like, and this happens every year in Game of Thrones, they build up for a big battle, probably second to last episode, and that's where you deliver. And that's where you're seeing a lot of the faces and alliances working together. And the one thing they have done in this series that they did not do as much in Game of Thrones was time jump.
Yes.
So a lot of the characters have aged, and you're seeing that especially here as they're building up for a massive war that is going to be taking place.
Yep.
And the alliances that are forming. And like I say, this is just something for fans of that genre of fantasy. You're not going to be disappointed from what you're seeing.
No.
And there's a lot to kind of sink the teeth into. And really, for a fan base that has been very quiet as of late, I think that they'll be coming out in full force for this.
Absolutely.
And I think that this is going to be a monster win for HBO Max.
Oh, God, yeah.
That we have been waiting to see these shows return. Like, for everything that Max does.
Yeah.
And HBO. Like, we know it's high quality. We know from The Sopranos to The Wire to everything that they've done.
Yeah.
Doing shows like this feels like epic. This feels like a moment.
And this is one of the few, shows that everyone watches. I know some people were wondering, is the fan base still going to be there? Is the cult-like following still going to be there? And I think back and I remember, too, the first episode that dropped, and there was that video going around on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook of somebody was in New York City on street level looking up at an apartment, and it was right at 9:00 Eastern when the episode dropped, or 9:05, whatever it was. And how many rooms in that apartment building were all the same color because everyone was watching House of the Dragon at the same time.
This is the power of the television.
Yeah.
That everybody thinks, well, everything's gone to streaming. There still is an audience. Like I say, movies are always going to be movies. Movies are an event. But when certain shows return, and especially ones that became such a part of pop culture, they're going to be having a lot of eyes on the prize.
Absolutely.
And I think that we're expecting a lot of big things this season. I honestly am going in open-minded, but I know it's almost like Death and Taxes. To expect a lot of sex, a lot of violence, a lot of dragons, a lot of really insane things. And you can't go wrong from there, Pat.
Hell no, you can't.
No. So, I mean, final thoughts on the preview?
Super excited for this. You know, I've been waiting a year and a half for this to come back. Honestly, I forgot it was coming back until they started putting out some heavy trailers. I know the promotion they were doing in New York City this last couple days was absolutely bonkers. Unveiling banners on bridges. Oh my God, that was nuts.
Well, you know what? I think you need to make a big splash because
you sure as shit did.
Well, as we touched upon with this episode alone,
Yeah,
Star Wars is big.
yeah,
The Boys is going to be big.
yeah. It is.
Pop culture audience is really going to have some incentive to stay inside during the hot summer weather
Yeah, they are.
to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that now we have a lot of fan favorite programs coming back. It's a great time to be turning the small screen back on and seeing what they got.
And if you haven't seen the first season, you know, the episode drops on Sunday. There's plenty enough time between when you're listening to this and Sunday to get caught up or get close to caught up.
Yeah, because, I mean, other than Arion being king, is there anything else that's jumping out to you that everybody needs to know about?
Just there's a power struggle between the family.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of setup the first couple episodes, but kind of the main focus of the show is this power struggle of who the heck's going to be king, and then they kind of get it settled, but it's not really settled at all.
Mm-hmm. But that's the beauty of this show.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're looking for something to check out on Sunday night, this is going to be something, pop culture is going to get taken over.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. So be prepared for it on social media. In the meantime, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH pod. House of the Dragon returns to HBO and Max. Are you excited? Are you not? What predictions do you have for the season? Let's talk about it, shall we? But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a lot to talk about. First of which is actually a documentary trailer that dropped. I saw it the other day. I had no idea this was coming. Coming to us on Paramount Plus on June 11th is a documentary called How Music Got Free.
This looks amazing.
Yes, it does. And I'm reading from the description on the YouTube video on Paramount's YouTube channel. It says, quote, uncover the secrets behind the crime we all committed. From executive producers Marshall Eminem Mathers, LeBron James, Maverick Carter, Paul Rosenberg, and Steve Stout, and produced by Warner Brothers. Unscripted television / telepictures in association with Springs Hill, Interscope Films, and Shady Films. How Music Got Free details the fascinating and often funny inside story of the technology-driven disruption that changed music during the late 90s and early 2000s. File-sharing technology combined with the insatiable demand for new music created both the means and the motive for millions of young people to participate in outright theft and be celebrated for it. From New York City to Los Angeles to the small factory town of Shelby, North Carolina, the two-part series features the quirky genius of the heretofore unknown pirates, the drama of the FBI investigations and convictions, and the frontline accounts of music's biggest artists and executives. An unbelievable story of cunning, illegality, celebrity, and innovation. These are the events that changed the music industry forever. Narrated by Method Man, the series features interviews with Eminem, 50 Cent, Timbaland, Jimmy Iovine, Roski Diaz, Rhymefest, Steve Stout, and more. Close quote.
Ooh.
Oh, this is going to be amazing.
You know, growing up in that time, there's some stories, my friend.
For legal purposes, I will neither admit nor confirm I did anything.
I ain't saying nothing.
I'm
not saying a
I don't know
damn word.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, so I'm not saying a word on what I did.
All I'm saying is it was a wild time.
Yes, it was.
And I can't wait to go down memory lane.
Uh-huh.
Enough said.
Then we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because last week was Summer Games Fest and IGN did their stuff. So a lot of video game news. The first of which is we got a trailer at the upcoming video game Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. This is going to be released on September 3rd for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Series S, also for PC. This, gotta admit, looks really good. You know, I've been waiting for this since specifically 2003. There was a little video game called Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup Same vein, you play the sporting game born in the Harry Potter universe where you fly on brooms, tossing sporting balls around to score points and win the game. That game was amazingly fun. You can probably emulate it these days, seeing as it's never been re-released because it came out in 2003 for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 2, the GameCube, the Game Boy Advance, and the original Xbox from Electronic Arts. It's never been re-released. It's never been remastered. It's never been anything. So it's if you have a PlayStation 2, GameCube, or an Xbox, you can probably go down to like your local used game store. I know here locally, Sound Go Round probably has a few copies sitting there. Definitely check it out. It was a lot of fun for its time, and I loved the game then. So to play this, it looks like fun. I'm definitely going to give this a check when it comes out in September.
It's Quidditch.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, like I say, yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter game player, so but if you're, like I say, fans will be excited for it. Like it looked good for what it was.
Yeah. Then announced by the folks over from Lego and PlayStation is a game called Lego Horizon Adventures. And this one reads, quote, and I'm reading from the PlayStation blog, quote, during today's Summer Games Fest showcase, we announced the brand new action-adventure game Lego Horizon Adventures to be launched during the 2024 holiday season on PlayStation 5, PC, and Nintendo Switch.
Ooh.
Co-developed by Guerrilla and Studio Gobo, Lego Horizon Adventures is a playful and lighthearted story inspired by the events of the world of Horizon. In the distant future, the land is made of Lego bricks and incredible dinosaur-like creatures roam the earth. Aloy, the game's leading hero, is found in a cave as a baby and raised by a grizzled huntsman called Roast, who teaches her the way of the wilds. One day, Aloy embarks on a quest to discover her true identity, guided by a 1,000-year-old hologram of a scientist called Elizabeth. Aloy must confront Helis, the leader of a group of sun worshippers who bow to an ancient evil shrouded in mystery. There's much more in store for Aloy and her friends as their adventure sends them across the tallest mountains and deepest cauldrons, all beautifully recreated in Lego elements. Follow your own adventure or share the fun with another player via couch or online co-op. Lego Horizon Adventures has been designed for two-player action without the need for split screen, providing an opportunity for family and friends to develop connections through collaborative play. This is super interesting. I maintain the Horizon franchise is one of the best stories and best video game series I have played in recent memory. You've got Horizon Zero Dawn, which came out for the PlayStation 4, and then Horizon Forbidden West, which came out for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Phenomenal storytelling. And this is definitely something that, like, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check out the originals. And if you have a Nintendo Switch, definitely check this out because this looks awesome.
It'd be worth a pickup.
Absolutely. Then you've got all of the stuff that Xbox announced. I'm not going to run through everything, but I'm reading from the Xbox website. This is just some of the highlights of stuff. You have Age of Mythology Retold, which we got to see the first ever gameplay trailer. If you're familiar with the Age of Empires franchise, it's from those same people, but it's, mythologies. The article says Age of Mythology Retold will combine the best elements of the beloved Age of Mythology from 2002 with modern real-time strategy design, visuals, and gameplay. The newly premiered trailer at Xbox Showcase 2024 revealed the first gameplay footage, showing off exciting action and divine powers, as well as some newly redesigned deity portraits. The World's Edge team also confirmed the launch date of Age of Mythology Retold, September 4th, 2024, and that this will be the first title in the Age of Empires franchise to ship on both PC and console at launch. Definitely looks interesting if you're into the Age of Empires franchise. Also got a trailer for the upcoming Call of Duty game, that is Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which is fucking wild to me that we're on Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
Good God. I remember when Black Ops 1 came out and it was the Bay of Pigs and it was the attempted assassination of Fidel Castro when I was in college 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been a while.
It's been a while, but yeah, that one looks super interesting. I'm probably not going to get it because I've kind of I got tired of Call of Duty, but also skeptical. I would get it for the story, but then there's the conflicting reports of just how big the install is going to be. Reportedly 300 gigabytes.
Ooh.
Call of Duty is very spacious on consoles these days, and I don't mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Good God. Then we got a first look at an upcoming game from the Doom franchise. This is called Doom: The Dark Ages. That is coming in 2025. This is going to be a prequel to the 2016 game Doom. And the article reads, quote, the prequel to Doom 2016, Doom: The Dark Ages puts players behind the visor of the mighty Slayer as they battle demonic hordes in grounded, hard-hitting combat inside an epic cinematic tale of gods, kings, and monsters. Supplementing his superhuman skills and over-the-top arsenal, the Slayer will also call upon his colossal Atlan mech to brawl with titanic beasts and retake the skies aboard his ferocious steed, a jet-fueled cybernetic war dragon. That just looks absolutely fucking nuts. Just going to say. Also did find out that I know this has been rumored for a while, but they finally decided to confirm it. New Fable game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this is coming in 2025. It says, what does it mean to be a hero? In last year's trailer, the question was answered by Dave, a gardener turned giant with a chip on his shoulder. This year, we get a much darker take from Humphrey, played by the British comedy actor Matt King. Humphrey was once Albion's greatest hero, but those glory days are long gone. In Fable, Humphrey will be forced out of retirement when a mysterious figure from his past threatens the very existence of Albion. So definitely got that. For those of you who thought the Gears of War franchise was dead, not so fast, my friends, because the official trailer and announcement trailer for Gears of War E-Day was announced. This is set before the original game of Gears of War, 14 years specifically. And the article says, 14 years before Gears of War, war heroes Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago return home to face a new nightmare, the Locust Horde. The subterranean monsters, grotesque and relentless, erupt from below, laying siege on humanity itself. In the announced trailer for the series' next major installment, the Coalition has teamed up with Blur Studio to forge a visually stunning trailer using in-game assets in Unreal Engine 5. It features a new instrumental version of Mad World, originally performed by Gary Jules for the iconic 2006 commercial, now brilliantly reimagined by the game's composer, Adam Lastawaka. The trailer made its debut in 4K resolution and 30 frames per second with 5.1 stereo sound. Yada, yada, yada. Also got a new trailer for the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle game coming from the folks over at Bethesda. No release date on this one, although I will say, I'm a little jealous this is going to be Xbox only, because for right now, it seems like it's only coming to the Xbox X and S and PC. It looks really fucking good.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. If you've ever seen any of the Indiana Jones films, it looks like it's something straight out of Indiana Jones. Looks awesome. Of course, they announced another flight simulator game, which, hey, not a surprise there. Also got a first look gameplay trailer for the Perfect Dark reboot.
I'm in.
Oh my lord.
I'm in.
Yeah, this looks nuts. Then you've got the trailer for new trailer for the State of Decay 3 game, which that looked awesome. Then we got a first look trailer at the first gameplay trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows, which of course is going to be set in feudal Japan, which it looks like an Assassin's Creed game, but hey, Ghost of Tsushima did it first. I'm going to wait and see on that one, just because with Ubisoft games, especially lately, it's kind of a hit or miss, especially with if they work or not. Assassin's Creed Syndicate and Assassin's Creed Unity, if you know, you know. If you don't, look up the stories. Then you had an official reveal trailer for the next Dragon Age game, which is titled Dragon Age The Veilguard. So definitely something to check out. I tried Dragon Age Origins for a little bit. Yeah. It was good. I might try that. I might give this one a shot. Well, if and when it comes to PlayStation 5, well, we'll see. You know, it looked okay. I had fun with it. Then a couple other things. You did have a trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is a remake of the 2003 game Metal Gear Solid 3. Looks good, not gonna lie. Looks super interesting. But that's kind of the gist and major thing. There's a lot more announced, but I'd be here all day if I was everything from Xbox. So definitely some interesting stuff, especially Fallout 76. You're going to be able to play as a ghoul.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Fallout 76 here very soon. That looks nuts.
Yeah.
Also announced during Summer Games Fest, they showed us some gameplay trailer for the upcoming Ubisoft Star Wars Outlaws game. It looks good, I will admit. But again, it's Ubisoft. It's priced out the ass.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty lofty price.
There's a lot of prices going for it. There's a lot of versions going for it. And also, like with a lot of Ubisoft games, I want to make sure it's not a broken mess that I don't regret wasting my money on. So I will wait and see. But I will admit, the gameplay looked good. Then we also did find out that the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake is coming in 2026. That's been long.
I was going to say, that's been talked about forever.
Yeah. It was, it's been some difficulties over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming 2026. Then you also found out that I admittedly, I'm not the biggest Power Rangers fan, but I saw this and I was like, that looks fucking dope.
Tom Craven is right now speeding to park right now to hear this.
Yeah, no, but we did get a first look at the new Power Rangers game, and that it's a total blast from the past. It is titled Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. It is coming from the folks over at the studio Digital Eclipse. Looks side-scrolling beat 'em up. If you remember the X-Men game or any of the Ninja Turtles side-scrollers, looks like in that same game it's the Power Rangers and they're fighting putties and fighting Rita's henchmen. It looks awesome.
I'm in on that. Like I say, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also have a G.I. Joe something coming out, like the same vein.
But yeah, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game is going to be available on PlayStation 5, both of the new Xboxes, also PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, Switch, and PC, expected sometime this year. Looks super, super good.
Yeah.
Then in some movie news, hey, the Lion King film is turning 30 years old. God, I feel old.
Same.
I know they had a celebration at the Hollywood Bowl. I think it was last weekend or the weekend prior. One of the two. Bunch of the actors and actresses who were in the film returned to sing their songs. I know Jeremy Irons performed "Be Prepared." Mm-hmm. I know the actors involved with Hakuna Matata sung their parts. It was awesome to see the footage. But yeah, the film is getting a re-release for its 30th anniversary. It will be coming to theaters beginning on July 12th, 2024. It was announced by Disney. So definitely, if you have kids and haven't seen this movie yet, first of all, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Or you're like me and you want to relive this film in theaters again, definitely be checking out your local theaters for showtimes and whatnot, because July 12th, it will be being re-released in theaters. Then finally and lastly, news that was announced literally the day after we recorded last week.
Of course.
And I said to you, they couldn't announce this a day sooner. Mm-hmm. We're getting a new Hunger Games novel and a new Hunger Games movie. So first we'll talk about the novel. I'm reading from publishersweekly.com. It says, quote, Scholastic has acquired world English rights to a new novel in the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins. Sunrise on the Reaping, the fifth book in the series, is slated for March 18th, 2025. The deal was negotiated by Rosemary Stimola of the Stimola Literary Studio, who represented Collins, and Scholastic VP, publisher, and editorial director David Leviathan. The book will be published simultaneously in print, digital, and audio formats by Scholastic in the U.S., Canada, the U.K., Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. Sunrise on the Reaping is the first new Hunger Games book since the 2020 prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It will also be a prequel taking place 24 years before the events of the Hunger Games. Lionsgate has already announced plans to adapt the book into a film, with Francis Lawrence in plans to direct for a November 2026 theatrical release. Quote, Suzanne Collins has done it again, bringing us back to the world of Panem in order to ask us important questions about our own world. Ellie Berger, president of Scholastic Trade, said in a statement. Sunrise on the Reaping is a remarkable book bringing new complexity, perspective, and revelations to a piece of the Hunger Games story that readers have longed to know more about, close quote. Then, quote, with Sunrise on the Reaping, I was inspired by David Hume's idea of implicit submission and, in his words, the easiness with which the many are governed by the few, Collins said. The story also lent itself to a deeper dive into the use of propaganda and the power of those who control the narrative. The question, real or not real, seems more pressing to me every day. To date, there are more than 100 million copies of all four Hunger Games books in print and digital formats worldwide, and foreign rights have been sold in 54 languages. Now, 24 years before, the set before the Hunger Games. That kind of got you wondering, what's this going to be about? Well, reportedly, it is going to be about the character Woody Harrelson plays in the film, Hamish Abernathy. Okay. And it is specifically the Hunger Games he participated in, which I believe were the 50th Hunger Games. So that's one of those, it's every 25 years something crazy happens, they do something crazy. Well, we know what happens in the 50th Hunger Games. It's brought up in the original books. What they did is, instead of the 12 usual tributes they do for the Hunger Games, they decided, why don't we double it? Yeah. It's 24, because it's a boy and girl from all 12 districts, normally 24. Why don't we double it? 2 boys and 2 girls from every district, so it was 48. And Woody Harrelson, the character Woody Harrelson plays, won those games. So it's going to be the games he won going to be interesting. And I know some folks are going, well, how are they going to do a movie like a year after the book comes out? I'm willing to bet that something was negotiated between Lionsgate and Scholastic that, like, as soon as the final draft of the book is turned in, they will get it and they will be able to get going on it ASAP. Looks interesting, and I'm fucking here for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's all your wheelhouse, my friend.
Absolutely.
So let's talk some comics, because obviously it's Wednesday, is New Comic Book Day. There's a lot at the shelves. Pat, what you picking up?
A couple things from Marvel. First of which you got is Avengers issue number 15 from Jed McKay. This one reads, quote, Blood Hunt tie-in, a bloody brawl on a vampire-infested helicarrier. Captain America's ad hoc team of Avengers, old and new, must face a foe commanding an army of vampires in the sky. With a group of decidedly earthbound heroes, don't miss this action-packed bloody tale of heroism and hemoglobin. This cover looks fucking nuts. Just saying. It's a bunch of vampires all lunging at Captain America, who's falling off of the said helicarrier with that looks like Kate Bishop.
Yeah,
falling behind him, and they got some other folks falling as well. But that looks very interesting.
Blood Hunt is really taking off right now for Marvel. If you're not picking that up, you really need to.
And then I got the 2 books I reviewed this week, which you definitely should check out at the comic shops. First of which is Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt number 2 from Justina Ireland. This one reads, quote, Spider-Man and the Lizard need to save Morbius, the living vampire, if the heroes of the Marvel Universe stand a chance at stopping the vampire virulence. But does Michael Morbius want to be saved? The book, very good, very interesting, and a couple little tidbits in this book that I think might be tipping their hand. We'll see if I'm right. And then you've got Star Wars Darth Vader issue number 47 from Greg Pak. This one reads, The Raising of Exegol continues. Darth Vader and the Schism Imperial launch their boldest challenge to the power of Palpatine with an assault on Exegol, the home of the Emperor's greatest secrets and treasures. But if sheer brute force can't overcome the defenses of the Sith Citadel, what terrifying new resources will the Dark Lord draw upon? Also, Captain Enric Pride faces his greatest test. This issue is so much fun to read, and you should definitely be checking it out at the comic shop if you are a Star Wars fan this week.
Yes, I was going to say, if anybody doesn't like the Acolyte, that's a perfect time to go pick up some great Star Wars stories. For me, actually, kind of a smaller list this week. I mean, it's stacked on nerdinitiative.com, so if you haven't checked out the reviews by the Bullpen, you're truly missing out. DC Comics, Batman and Robin number 10. So this has been one of my favorite Batman stories. Joshua Williamson has been penning. It's a split art team on the book, and they tie up the Man-Bat storyline.
Oh.
And where they're going next is absolutely insane. I'm not going to spoil it, but I know where they're heading. The next villain is right there on the last page, and there's going to be some family business getting taken care of. You get my drift. So,
all right.
Very excited about that. I love that book. I thought, like I say, it's one of my favorite Batman stories out right now. Comixology Originals, Hard Style Juice, number 3, Clay McCormick and Ricardo Lopez Ortiz. This is the story about the mysterious death in the world of pro wrestling. The sister is now investigating the brother's passing. This is going to be one, Pat, you might not want to, you won't exactly feel as much.
Okay.
There's a death match.
Yeah, no.
I was going to say, knowing Pat, but
Yep.
They do it very tastefully. It's one that makes a lot of sense to the story. And where we're going from here, there's a big revelation at the end of the page. So let's see where it carries over issue number 4. But this series has been absolutely money. So if you want to check that out on digital format, and I'm fingers crossed it's coming to print. I don't think it's been officially announced yet, but I'm putting the karma out there. Hardstyle Juice is going to be for you. Any pro wrestling fans, you definitely want to go check that out. Also, I alluded to a little bit, Blood Hunt number 3, Marvel Comics.
Yep.
So this is the storyline that's Marvel's bloodiest crossover ever, and
To say the least.
they're living up to it. This issue, though, I will be honest, there is some moments, but there's one that overtakes everything.
Okay.
It's involving an Avenger, and when you read it, you're going to be like, okay, I see where we're going, and it's not. It's definitely going to get some fist pumping in the air, excitement. The ending page, though, is going to blow some people away because we're going to be having a very insane fight soon. And I think the combatants have now entered the ring, if you get my drift. So definitely check that out. Also, Transformers, Skybound Entertainment, Image Comics.
Enough said.
Daniel Warren Johnson, Jorge Corona. Listen, this is probably the best book on the block right now, and it's no signs of slowing down. Optimus Prime has to deal with the ghost from the past from Cybertron coming to our Earth, and I don't know if he's ready to handle what is going down with that. Like, that's honestly how good this whole story has been. And if you even want more recommendations, like I said, nerdinitiative.com is the place you need to go. Over 25 reviews on the website right now. And that's just this week, folks. Like I said, we got a lot happening. And I definitely want to give a shout out to our team over at Turn a Page, because we had a great interview last night with Diego Valenzuela. And he is the mastermind behind the Luchaverse that is coming out via Masked Republic and Massive Publishing. So it's a great interview. Go support this book. The FOC is this Monday coming up, June 16th. Or June 17th, I believe. You want to go down to the FOC. You want to get this. It's going to be something. It's going to be a big monster. So Diego was very gracious to give us some time to come on the show. He's going to be coming back on sooner than later. We also have a guest coming on Wrestling Night Live this week.
Hey.
So it's going to be a very big Masked Republic scenario this week. So definitely go out and check it out on Nerd Initiative YouTube, and it will be out in podcast form on the ODPH this week as well. So keep an eye out for that. And as we say, if it's New Comic Book Day, there's no better place to go than your local comic shops to go get some issues. That said, for anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. That's it for this jam-packed edition of the Entertainment Edition. For Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.